Welcome back, you absolute beauties. How are we doing? Wanted to do a should you play Stalcraft X in 2025, but a little bit differently because I want to go into their history of where they began, when they started, through the years into where we are now, especially coming up in 2025 and seeing what's on the horizon. We've had some sneak peeks and leaks of what we're looking at. It could be a massive year and going to start seeing some massive changes, so that's what we're hoping for. With that being said, if you don't want to see their history and where they began and how far they've come, there'll be a spot down in the description where you can click to should you play 2025 Stalcraft, and we'll go over their pay to win, the pros and cons, what content's like, and what changes we've seen over the years. Let's crack on in. Back in 2014, Stalcraft launched as a mod for Minecraft. It was at that point that they were to get a server going and get people in to this first-person Stalcraft world that we have all become to love. The team that developed this at an early stage was a small group of people that started working on the mod together to bring the Stalker world into an MMO style of genre that they were wanting to bring it to. It did start off as a small group, more of a passion project, but over time they slowly grown into Expo, a full-fledged developer now of their own standalone game with its own engine. The footage we are seeing in the background is what it looked like as the mod for Minecraft, with the UI and everything that we see that is going on. A very rudimentary, blocky form that has been massively changed over the years now. But we can see where the character development that we have now with the characters came from, keeping some of that heart and soul from that original mod that they did create. I will say, going back and watching this footage of these early mods, that I was playing Minecraft at this point, but wasn't at a point of running mods and playing on a PC. Otherwise, I probably would have stumbled across this a long time ago. But it is fun to look back and see what it started as, considering I've put so much time into this game as it currently stands, versus what it truly was at the heart and soul when it first became a reality for the small team that was creating it. It's crazy to me to see how well they did have some development in it. Even right now, the guy has a flashlight on his AK, and being able to have that light move around the way they did, it was truly an amazing job that they had put together such a mod of its time in my eyes. I didn't play a lot of Minecraft mods, so I'm sure there's a lot of them that were just as good, if not better. But to create what they did with what was available at the time is truly just amazing to me. If we jump just 2 years down the road in the development and updates of the Stalcraft mod for Minecraft, we have now seen that they named themselves as the Expo team. I don't know if it's something they did before. There's very little information when it comes to this mod almost 10 years ago at this point. We don't also know the amount of players that were actually on, or how big this mod became, that keep pushing them to update it and push it further into the game that we know nowadays. We did see massive changes in building development, weapons, the implications of sites, and the way you can actually explore and interact with your world. We started seeing the introduction of new mutants or monsters within the world, as well as the overall size of the map increased dramatically, and adding new POIs to visit, new structures to go to. We also started getting arty farms, or artifacts, that you are able to actually go pick up and loot, and start finding new items within the game as well. We also got the start of being able to see the eruptions and those being introduced into the world, You can also see we have some of the anomalies that we have now today as well, including the trampolines and things like that. Then just 1 year later, we got massive changes to the animations, the way we interact with the world. We have a new map, we have a new overlay, and it's getting started to the point where we get an actual, they leave the Minecraft mod and create what we know as Stalcraft, which was released in 2018. After this point, I still couldn't find a lot of information on the mod or any information what was all there on the quests or weapon types that were in there. Just going based off what I'm seeing here, we were able to modify our weapons. Open world PvP was a big thing. We have standoff and clan wars, things that were pretty much all ready to go when it released in 2018. You can see some of the older school monsters that we have and where they've changed to them now. Now we jump just 1 year later again, and we get our official trailer for the Steam release of Stalcraft as on a global scale. If we're looking at it, we notice that the character design has been set. Our mutants have been created and have gotten closer to their final form. Our weapons have, our armors and suits, and the way that the game works together has been created and set in stone and created those paving stones essentially for the future that is where we are at now. As we look at the world around in this trailer alone, we notice our trees are still blocky. A lot of our structures and POIs at least have their own design and entity to them, but they're still pulling from their roots as a Minecraft mod, keeping some of that blocky world landscape, which that blocky world landscape has stuck since. It's a key part in what makes this game this game. I tried to find some information and content on the years from 2018 to 2024. There wasn't anything I was finding that I was super happy with, so I know they tweaked, they changed, they updated over those years, but it wasn't until 2024 that we got our biggest change yet, which is Stalcraft X, which is what we're in now, and we've all come to love even more than the original Stalcraft. We notice the environment changes, we lose a lot more of that blocky looks in trees and things like that. We have new animations, weapons have been overhauled. The entire game is essentially changed. We have a new map, we have the Northern Zone, we have Labs, Stillwaters, Layubec, we have the inflow and mines. We get a whole overhaul of the entire game. Everything is now rounded, smooth. The terrain still has some of their blocky looks to it, which we've come to love. It was a massive change that has propelled them further into creating a more immersive game to continue bringing new people in and continue growing into what I'm hoping is going to be a fantastic full game that continues to get update and love from the developers. Then as we jump to 2025, we get the release trailer, or tease trailer if you will, for Operations, set to release at some point in 2025. We are shown essentially what seems like a wave-based system of non-stop fighting a lot of mutants, bosses, different items that could be brought about. We still don't know 100%. But it does bring a lot of hope for the future and excitingness when it comes to PvE content within the game. We still have no idea how it's going to work, what the whole point of it, any of the rewards, anything like that. But it does seem like it is going to be something massively fun to do and new, whether that is bringing new weapons with it or giving a usefulness to some of the armors within the game, plus the weapons or melee and things like that. But I'm just going to let the rest of this video finish out, so if anyone hasn't seen it, you get to get the full experience of it, and I'll see you when it's done. Now that we've went through the history of Stalcraft from the beginning when they started as a Minecraft mod into the release trailer for the content that's coming up in 2025, let's dive into the pros and cons, what's it like actually in game, the management, and why I feel like you should actually play this game within 2025. According to YouTube, I'm supposed to remind you guys to skip. Once you've logged in, created your character, ran through the tutorial, you wake up into the world of Stalcraft and everything that it beholds. Following the Chernobyl incident with the nuclear reactor and the fallout that's left behind, the monsters that it has created, we have now entered Stalcraft. This game is a open world PvP, not quite full loot, more of a semi-loot. I'll explain more, as well as a progression system that is based off leveling certain areas to unlock different weapons and farming materials inside those areas that you have been exploring. Each one has a level that you slowly work towards by completing different dens and different areas within the game, as well as your quest lines. There's multitude of quest lines. There is not a linear path of where you can go and what you do. It is truly set to what you want to see and what you want to explore. It is a gem that I feel like doesn't get the love and support that it deserves, or the player base that it deserves. It is a niche game. It is not for everyone, don't get me wrong, but the moments that you can experience within this game are amazing and truly some of the most fun PvP I've had in a game in a long time. I've a lot of time in games like Tarkov and some Tarkov clones that I've got thousands of hours in, and this one is still one of those that brings me the most fun, whether it is truly going after den to den, hunting down mutants to collect the rewards to get my next gun leveled, or if it is truly just roaming around looking for open world PvP to take down that fight, collect the loot that they've already farmed that is lootable from them, and take them with me and run. There just isn't another game out there that I have found that has brought me as much joy as this one has, truly. Stalcraft is an MMO with sub-factions, or clans if you will. There is at any point a multitude of people running around questing, fighting, taking the point, or trying to capture different outpost points. Everyone is running different weapons. Everyone's build is different from artifacts. There is the in-game marketplace as well to sell your items that are sellable. You have items that are truly yours once you pick them up. If you were to die, they drop into a little bag like this. But all of these items are then eventually bound to you when you make it back to base. It is truly a different, unique progression system I've ever dealt with that is both daunting and rewarding, frustrating, and one of the most amazing experiences at the same time. It is a grindy game. It is a very grindy game, but has some of the biggest rewards that I have found in chasing that dopamine that most of us do with games that I have found in a long time. One of the biggest things about this game that I love is there isn't anything that you have to pay for to do in this game. If you want the season pass, if you want the premium, you are able to go and buy the season pass with in-game money that you have farmed. Same with premium, for instance. You are able to get all of these things. Yes, there is a price tag attached to them, don't get me wrong, but these are things that you are able to farm and make money off of and do everything in the game without spending a single real-life dollar. From the moment you click play, you can do everything in the game, unlock anything you want, and progress that way without spending a dollar. And I find that rare and absolutely amazing. Stalcraft does have a premium version to it. Not even a version, it's something that you can pay real money for, or you can spend in-game currency on. and it adds a couple different benefits to it. One of them is event resources, or the dens or camps that you take down while you're exploring. You get 25% bonus from them, 15% income from events. Then you do get a plus 15% base reputation when you are leveling up, whether it's in the swamps, roadside, or the northern zones, or the bar. You get an increase in that. Tasks and contracts for your dailies and weeklies, you get additional tasks that you are able to complete from your daily boards, whether you are in the southern zone or the northern zone of the map. Especially with the weekly one, that is a massive one to have premium. When you get to Endgame, you are able to farm a little bit more serum. Daily rewards, you get an additional track. When you first log in, you get your welcome back for the day. There's the free tier and then the premium one. It's essentially can be anything from upgrade tools to buffs and foods and things like that. Other privileges is you get an extra shelves in your personal storage. What that means is if we open up our personal storage tasks, 1 through 6 you will get by leveling up in game and leveling all of your bases to 100%. I think it's level 7. And then 7 through 12 are your premium tabs. Kind of the cool part is if I were to let my premium run out, the items in these are going to stay here until they pull them out. Once I pull them out, they are no longer, I can't put anything in there, but it will still hold that. So like my food, I can still pull from my food stacks, but I can't add anything else back into it. Let's dive into a little bit more of the nitty and gritty when it comes to, is STALKRAFT pay to win? I would say yes and no. The reason I say yes is there are a lot of things that you can buy. For instance, advanced spare parts. These are things you will use for leveling up your weapon and gear. Those are buyable and usable. Same with cases during a season. You get a seasonal currency that you then can try to pull some of the masterwork gear that you would use in late game. You can do this as early as you want. With that being said, the only way to do that is to have the season pass, and then you start essentially swiping your card to build a bunch of these up, to then go back, buy your cases, and try to pull these items. Once you pull them, you then use these currencies to level them up, or you can buy these to sell them in the in-game market or auction house to get in-game money to buy other things, for instance, as in artifacts, buying some of the better artifacts that are out there. So in that sense, you could consider it pay to win, but even though someone is running some of the best gear, the best gun, the best artifacts, there is still a chance that you will kill them. That doesn't make their skill any better. It just gives them an opportunity at better gear. It is a thing with free-to-play games that they introduce stuff like this, to bring in revenue for their own set. There is whales in the game that do buy things and resell them. Don't get me wrong, it is there. But that is the extent of pay to win in my eyes. I don't see it as an issue. Just because someone is running some of the best gear in the game doesn't mean that I'm not going to kill them. That is my take on pay to the win. Some other people might have different ideas about it or feelings. I just don't see it as a major game-breaking issue where they can buy it, get a bunch of power, and are unstoppable. There isn't anyone that isn't killable within the game or that you can't take on. Are you going to win 100% of the time? No. Will they prevail more than you? Most likely. But there is still a chance that you will kill them. There is a form of matchmaking in the game that does differentiate those people to an extent. Once you hit master lobbies with master gear and everyone has a certain type of arties on and certain type of gear on, they get separated into those ones. So if you're just starting out, you won't see these people. When it comes to endgame content, this is where I feel, in my personal opinion, that STALKRAFT is lacking a little bit. Whether I'm still farming just XP and looking at ways at making money, or I'm doing my weekly tasks and getting them done within the first couple of hours of the Tuesday reset, that's where, in my opinion, they're starting to lack. But it's still fun to do if you get a group together and just go roam to PvP. But a lot of what you're looking at is outpost capturing in the northern zones. You're looking at doing weekly tasks, and that's pretty much it in the most part of endgame. Focusing on your builds, getting them perfected, leveled up, and then participating in clan wars. And that's It doesn't sound like a lot. There's a lot to it when you first get into it and you first reach the Northern Zone. The Endgame is truly an amazing place to be, but when you've been there for 400 hours, it gets to be a little bit less exciting over time, in my opinion. That's why we're hoping for these updates that are coming in 2025 that will bring new content, new places to explore, new things to do will be massive. What are some of the cons? And these are my opinions at the end of the day. Don't get me wrong, people have other thoughts and feelings on these, but a couple of mine would be the first one, like I said, Endgame, and that Endgame little part is getting stale for me at this point. I have to kind of push myself to go do things and find that enjoyment still. It's kind of a love-hate relationship at some points. The other one is how the progression tree is time gated when we get to Endgame. So when we start looking at our masterwork weapons, we have these things called anomalous serums. Anomalous serums, you will typically, just from weekly quest alone, get 9 a week if you complete every weekly quest, and then an additional 7 when you complete your daily serum task that you have. With that being said, you're only looking at 16 a week. Your pre-masterwork and then your masterwork require serums. Your first one's not bad, it's at 10. You can do that in the first week with no issues, no problems. That second one is a lot harder at 55. You're looking at upwards of 4 weeks if you're doing everything in order to unlock that last item. So that time gatedness, which I understand they have to have some way of making it so everyone doesn't get everything immediately. Yes, there's other ways to get serums, don't get me wrong, whether you're doing standoff, which I'll cover that in game modes in just a second. You can get them from clan war crates and buying it from clan war currencies. Once again, we'll get over that a little bit here in a second. But there is other ways of getting them. Don't get me wrong, you get 25 a season as well that you can purchase with in-game currency. I just don't like the time-gated feeling where I'm ready to unlock my next one, but I'm stuck waiting until I have enough to do it. Say my next con that I have is the current meta is very set on typically just a couple of guns. I mean, that's across any game that has a variety of guns. There's usually a couple that outperform them. They are working on rebalancing, so I can't say it'll be a con forever, but at this current time, for me, it is, where I feel like I can't use some of the weapons that I want to because they don't perform quite as well as other ones. It doesn't mean they're not usable. It just means I'm kind of at an under advantage in a sense that makes it a little more difficult in my eyes. But that's just my personal feeling on the con side of that when it comes to the current meta of weapons. This con is a little bit different in my eyes. It is the player pop. Stalcraft is still a smaller game. Don't get me wrong, they do have peaks of upwards of 20,000 players across all their servers. They have a couple different servers from North America, Europe. They have an Asia and then a Russian server. So there is a split obviously across Steam that doesn't include their own launcher that they do have. But that is a thing that now that we're at the middle of the season, we've noticed a decline in population, which means the auction house fluctuates, so the economy changes a little bit. People are taking breaks, so finding more people out in the open and exploring and roaming is not as prevalent. It's not the end of the world, don't get me wrong, you can still get your farming done. You can do some more of the activities that you were wanting to do and not deal with as much resistance, but it's still one of those slight cons as they are still growing and more people are getting interested and coming in and joining. It would just be nice to see more people in constantly. I know there wasn't a lot of my own input into why you should play Stalcraft. I'm giving you more information on what the game is and what there is to do and how it kind of plays out in a sense with some of the cons, the free to play, some of the information that I look for when it comes to looking at a new MMO to try and play. My personal feeling, if you're someone who enjoys PvP, first-person shooters, a way to customize some of your weapons, way to change your build, choose what armor you're wearing and how you want to play the game, it is a game I truly feel you should try. It is only moving up. They're adding more content. They're making big changes, especially since Stalcraft X. If you haven't tried it since or before Stalcraft X, try it again. It is a true diamond in the rough that I feel like people don't know about, or that hidden gem that's put away that just doesn't have as much traction yet. There isn't a lot of content creators on it. I just feel like you should give this game a try, enjoy it. It has some of the best highs and some of the worst lows that I've ever had in a game besides Tarkov, but it gives me that sense of satisfaction that I get from Tarkov without being as stressful. I can get home from after work, sit down, play the game, and truly enjoy it and not feel like I'm on a 13-day lost streak of not being able to make any headway in quests or things like that. You can get a group of 6 people, 5 people, and say, hey, I need help getting to this point, and the community will help you out. Don't get me wrong, there's still some toxicity within the communities, especially in Endgame when you get into some of the clans and the factions and things like that. But overall, the community is very helpful. I encourage you to download it, give it a try. It is free to play. There is no fees up front. There's no fees later if you don't want to put money into it. And just give it a try, see what you think, make some friends, get some buddies in, and just have fun. That is my personal take on this. It was more about the history and some of the information within the game. If you guys liked it, I appreciate feedback in the comments. If you want to see more things like this, this is my first attempt at creating a video like this. No idea what I'm doing, not a single clue, but I encourage you to leave comments, try the game, and until next time, we'll see you later.